Basically, we are speaking about the joints which are there.
Not just joints. We have oils, capsules, gummy bears, edibles like chocolates and cookies.
By what age should one start smoking according to you?
We have two values here, talent and give a shit. We take it pretty seriously, and we also curse because we want people to recognize that we're a pretty candid human being.
You've said brand is a verb. That is a striking perspective. Can you unpack that?
It's basically a collection of 60 chapters. Each one is an insight.
Spoke about working in a cannabis company earlier than this. Is cannabis legal in Canada?
Yeah, so it became fully legal. It was legal medically, I think, as early as 2016, maybe even earlier than that. But it became mainstream legal, like there's stores on every street now in 2019.
Basically, we are speaking about the joints which are there.
Yeah, so not just joints. We have, hash, oils, capsules, gummy bears, edibles like chocolates and cookies. They do concentrates. It is 100% legal.
In India, if we are
If you're 18, you gotta be 18 plus. It's not for kids. And I'll be honest with you, I got a lot of opinions about even partaking in cannabis, before the age of your early 20s, based on how our minds develop. And, my boys, although I started smoking rather early, I've never been much of a drinker. I've always sort of leaned towards cannabis, but I won't be recommending what I did by any means, because just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's completely safe.
By what age should one start smoking according to you?
I'll be honest with you. I don't recommend smoking for anybody that wants to stay perfectly healthy. Although cannabis doesn't seem to be as damaging as cigarettes or cigars, the science is still out there. So from a health standpoint, I wouldn't recommend anybody smoking. There's many ways that you can get the benefits of cannabis, the cannabinoids, terpenes, through edibles or drops or capsules. And I think that's a little less harmful on your lungs. But what I was referring to is there's a lot of study that suggests your brain is still developing, into your early 20s, specifically as a male. I think it's a little bit different for females. I don't have that stat off the top of my head. Just like anything else, they might mature a little bit quicker than us boys. So I think they might be a little bit younger age, but certainly I've seen numbers around 22, even to 25, that because our brains are still developing, it really doesn't serve you to be influencing your endocannabinoid system with cannabis or before your early 20s. So that's my unofficial, what the science says. Everybody has to decide for themselves. But again, everything in moderation, I think, is pretty cool. And, but you got to be careful with absolutely everything.
While you are marketing for cannabis, like for example, where out here the tobacco products, whatever is marketed, it is marketed in a very subtle way because of a lot of restrictions. And I believe even Meta has a lot of restrictions when it comes to promotion of cannabis or drugs or the tobacco products. So is it the case? And if yes, how do you market it?
It's actually way more restricted than tobacco and alcohol. In fact, gambling, firearms, tobacco, and alcohol get away with a lot of things that cannabis don't. Cannabis is kind of the new kid on the block. And obviously the government and regulators want to err on the side of caution. So how do you market it? You're correct. There's ways that you can market it, but you can't talk about the benefits. Certainly you can't advertise anywhere where people under 18 can see it. You can't have cartoons or anything that's attractive to kids. Although again, I've seen people walk that line and err on the side of going too far. But again, I'm not the regulator. Yes, it is very restricted. It's very difficult to advertise to the general public. You have to be inside a store or advertising, within a cannabis friendly environment like a bar or somewhere where only 18 plus.
Was there a turning point in your life when you decided that you want to build an agency of your own?
Yeah, I think so. So I worked in agencies for years, and I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I started, a few smaller companies in my younger years, and, I was always out shoveling driveways and mowing lawns and trying to find ways to make some extra cash. So I think I always had that entrepreneur spirit, and I consider myself to be a leader. And by that, I just mean I have a really difficult time following someone else's dream, rules, expectations. I think that's true of most entrepreneurs or most people that started their own business. I say this quite often. I think I'm a horrible employee. I question everything. I like to do things on my time. I'm a hard worker and I get results. So I have a really difficult time with somebody sort of micromanaging me or telling me how I need to do things. When it came to brand strategy, I really felt that I had a different approach to how I would serve clients. And so when I left the last agency that I worked for in-house, I really shifted how I approach brand strategy, which I felt made me more attractive to the same clients that my old agencies were going after. And I was able to scoop quite a few of those. So I think it was a mix of knowing that, and I'll add to that. When I started my own company, I actually reached out to 3 CEOs that I'd had in the past, and I took them out for coffee. And I very humbly apologized for being a shitty employee. I don't think I was a bad person, and I had the interests of my job and the company always at heart, but I have a very difficult time taking orders. So that's why I started my own company. I feel you can either complain. If you're going to complain, then you need to go out and figure out a better way. That's what I tell my boys. I can't stand people that just sit there and gripe and say, I could do it better. Great. As soon as you think you could do it better, go out and do it better. So that's what motivated me, a mix of not really being a great employee and thinking that I could do it better. Also, just an incredible ignorance around what it would take in order to be successful. I think going in a little bit blind helps with the inevitable overcoming of fear that you would have if you knew everything you were really buying into.
How many boys do you have now?
2 boys, Caleb and Charlie. They're 9 and 7.
How many team members do you have?
There's about 12 of us in the office every day. My team is about 25. We're a boutique agency, so about 10 of my employees are part-time. And then I've got about 5 employees outside of Canada. We have them in Mexico, Portugal, and India.
So are you also outsourcing your work?
Well, yes. I mean, there's certain things that we outsource. So there's no one pillar that we completely outsource. But when it comes to SEO, for example, my managers and my copywriters and my strategists are in-house. But I have a team out of India that helps me with my listing, my backlinking, and my offsite content, as well as some of my reporting because they have just a ton of software that it's cheaper for me to get reports from them than to invest in the annual subscription myself. Likewise, we have developers in Mexico that we use. Bandwidth concerns or overflow, and I want to get a project done sooner, then I have actually 2 partners out of India that I can go. One that specializes in HubSpot and one that specializes in WordPress and Shopify. And then my photographers and videographers, I have 3 that I use, 3 teams. One is an independent, 2 are companies in their own rights, and they will typically pitch on projects, or I will send the project to who I think is the best fit based on their style and capabilities. And then, of course, I've got, part-time HR rep, part-time CRM, troubleshooting rep. My help desk and IT is on call 24/7. It's a rich tapestry of in-house contractors. And yes, I do outsource a little bit of my work where it's efficient.
Objective of asking was, are you, bound to, just the in-house team, or it's a very expanded and global team kind of a setup?
Yeah, I find technology has made it pretty easy for us to connect with anybody around the world. So I'm very much open. I mean, language is the only real concern that I have. As long as we can communicate clearly, it certainly doesn't matter where they are in the world. We can find time. Mexico is kind of good for that because their time zone is similar. India presents a challenge, but I find, quite frankly, you folks are incredibly accommodating and hardworking. So it's not like it's nighttime out there right now, is it not?
We work in nighttime Canadian clients.
Exactly. So, and I found that from a lot of people. In fact, as soon as I interview a contractor and they tell me that, I have to adhere to their times, it's an automatic no, because there's so many options that are willing to cater to our time frame.
You've said brand is a verb. That is a striking perspective. Can you unpack that and share an example of a brand that truly lived that idea?
Sure. Yeah. And I think there's countless. So you're referring to my book, Brand is a Verb, which I launched a couple months ago. It's basically a collection of 60 chapters. Each one is an insight that I originally shared on LinkedIn in a post and got a good response or engaged in good conversation. It's a collection of the type of things that I say in a client meeting that make the client's eyes light up like they've heard something that they'd never heard before. And it's funny because any of us that are in an industry long enough, we take for granted what we know, that others also know it. Everything from the acronyms that we use to the strategies that we engage with. So it's not really about tactical detail strategy. It's more about living your brand out loud. Gone are the days where we can just put up a logo and a sign and a website and say, this is who we are. And people take that at face value and give us their trust in their business. We live in an age where everybody wants to see behind the curtain. They want to know the people that they're working with. They want to know what their brand values, what the brands that they choose care about, and they want to make sure that those values and ethics align with their own. With very minimal exceptions, there's options for literally everything that we want to buy, whether it's a product or service. And today's consumer wants to buy from someone that they connect with. So brand is a verb, is all about showing up for your brand, the importance of defining your brand and how you will do what you will do for whom, to what end, so that in every opportunity to showcase your brand, you know how to do it, when to do it, and it again, as equally important, what not to do, or what conversations not to get involved with, or how to not expose yourself unnecessarily in a day and age where one little slip up or one disconnect between the brand that you state and the brand that you show can cause someone to lose trust in and walk out the door towards an alternative. So that's basically it. It says every action speaks volumes, and I help people understand what their brand is really saying through what they're doing.
So tell me something, when somebody chooses Agency Atlas, which is your brand, what is the reason for them to choose you?
We have two values here, talent and give a shit. And sorry if you don't allow cursing on your podcast, you can always edit that out, but we take it pretty seriously. And we also curse because we want people to recognize that we're pretty candid human beings. I find, there's not a lot of unnecessary polish around here. There's just a lot of candor and rolling up our sleeves and getting the job done. Now, our first value, talent, ensures that we can step up and deliver anything that a client could want. I don't care if they're a local ice cream stand or, S&P Global Commodity Exchange internationally. We've served both. We serve them equally, but the people that come to Agency Atlas truly care about the second one, the give a shit. And that is our willingness to go that extra mile, our willingness to be a true partner that is invested in your success. Far too many agencies have CEOs with 3 houses, 4 cars that couldn't tell you who their clients are, certainly aren't invested or loyal to their products and services. They're just there to get theirs. They lock you into a contract. I can't tell you how many clients have come to us that have said, wow, I can't believe how easy it is to get what we want here. We typically have to beg our last agency. So if you come to Agency Atlas, it's because, first of all, you value brand focused marketing, not just a la carte advertising on a whim. Second, you value a partner long term that's going to help you with absolutely everything you need across the board for marketing communications, whether we offer it in-house or with one of our connections. And third, you want somebody that when things inevitably go left, and they do, I don't have a single client that I've had longer than 6 months where something hasn't gone wrong or something didn't need to be quickly adjusted, or we learned something or they learned something that needed to be acted on. The value of knowing that we're going to pick up the phone on the first or second ring every single time and dedicate our team with the same urgency that you have for something as important as your brand marketing is why people stay with us.
That's an interesting perspective. I really loved the line on the first conversation also where you said that you are without annoying industry bullshit, where agencies takes hours and hours, days and days to just respond to emails and whatnot. They're not very approachable. And if you're saying you pick up the call in one ring, obviously that is something to be proud of.
Yeah, when we talk about the industry bullshit, we just find there's so much bureaucracy and added payments and process just for the sake of process so that they can bill more hours. We don't do any of that. One of the other big differentiators we have is the agency I came from, I was their brand strategist, and they would sell me at between $20,000 and $40,000 for, a 50-page document that explains to the client everything that they are, everything they need to do. They're 50K in or 40K in, and we haven't done anything. And I saw the frustration in their eyes when they say, wow, look I've spent the equivalent of a brand new car here and we still haven't done anything. So what we do is we do the strategy and planning for free. It's an opportunity for me to get to know my clients or the potential to be my clients. It's an opportunity for me to show them how I think and to learn a little bit about their industry and make a good brand impression with them. Now, at the end of the day, if they choose to work with us, it's because that whole process went well. They've got a plan in hand that they agree with. And then, of course, our pricing is very competitive. But if they don't, or if I don't see a fit, if I can tell within, the first couple of weeks of working with these people that they're not going to fit with our standards, and it could just be a personality thing, or it could be something more nefarious, then I will typically find someone else to hand them off to. I don't leave them flapping in the wind, but I make it clear to them that we are not a fit for their needs and explain why. And the reason is I want absolutely every single person that comes in contact with me or Agency Atlas to feel that they get value before they get a request for anything. Second, I want them to know that regardless of whether or not we work together, I respect them and I hope that they succeed and I'm happy to help them along that path. But third, we are very tight when it comes to who we accept here. We don't put up with bullshit. We don't put up with clients that get in their own way or get in the way of us and our culture. So that gives me an opportunity to respectfully kind of weed out the ones that aren't a good fit.
Many clients struggle to explain what they really do. I mean, they're running a good business, but they're not sure what should be their message or what are their core values. Like you being a marketing guy, you can absolutely say like 1, 2, 3, these are my core values. But when it comes to clients, many times they don't know. So have you had a moment where you help a brand find its story and turn it to something very powerful?
You're right. So I just had a meeting yesterday with somebody and they drew out their 5 values and I said, great. And then I walked through those 5 values and you could tell that they were values focused on how they would treat a customer, a paying customer, but they fell short. So one of the values was we support success. So I said, great. What kind of programs do you have for your employees that allow them to advance their careers while they're with you in their own interest and their own success? And they just stared at me. I said, oh, okay. Well, then what do you do to support the industry? Or what is a charitable organization that you've partnered with that needs support that you give support to? And they realized that nothing they really did supported anything outside of some policies they had to pick up the phone quickly to support their clients when their clients were in need. Values dictate how you do everything. The saying is how you do anything with a brand is how you should do everything. You can't be one thing out there with your customers and completely different in-house with your clients. So I truly help people understand what their values are. And we all have them. And values aren't things like honesty and, professionalism. Well, maybe professionalism if you look at it, but, stuff like honesty, that's the cost of business. You can't be dishonest and still make it a business. So I try to weed out something that they just have to be in order to be worth anything and try to focus on differentiators like maybe they're humorous, or maybe they're truly transparent, or maybe they are super efficient, or everything they do is innovative. Oh, that was another one. The client said they're innovative. So I said, cool, what new tools have you introduced in the last 5 years? None. Well, then you're not innovative.
Somebody needs to ask the right question. So to make the brand feel that, okay, we are going wrong when we are saying this is the brand message.
It is, because they know the answers. They just need someone to pull it out. It's the same way that I ghostwrite books for people. The story's in there. I just have an ability to pull it out of them. And also get them to think differently about some of the things they've been saying, help them understand outside of, that plaque with your mission, vision, and values in the office, what people really think about them and how shifting their values or better explaining their values or better standing behind their values will help attract that core, that cult following, that loyal following that truly cares about how you do things, as opposed to just putting some words on paper and hoping that somebody likes it.
Looking back, is there any project that you're mostly proud of, and what did you teach you about branding and leadership?
I mean, I'm proud of a lot of our brands. I get this question more than any, and it's tough for me to pick sort of one project. I also don't necessarily, some of the projects that I'm super proud of, we ended up firing the client afterwards, and I certainly am not about to give them flowers for being jerks. But most recently, so a couple of years ago, we got S&P Global as a client, which is a massive international client. It basically tripled our business overnight. And we did so in 72 hours after a year of them trying with their 2 internal agencies of record, their internal team and their agency of record. They had combined with 2 other commodities companies, and they needed everybody to feel like they were all part of the same team. When the reality was there was massive shifts and layoffs and adjustments and culture shock and, trying to become something or falling under a brand banner that they, were competing with up until a month earlier. And so our contact is actually my partner, Robbie's contact, was in town. She was the new VP of marketing, had come in and voiced her expression or her frustration over some coffee. Robbie gave me a call and said, they need a campaign to bring them all together, something to rule them all. And they've been trying for, 6 months to a year and couldn't come up with anything. And this, our contact's statement was, I'm just going to have to pick one of the 2 or find a way to combine the top 2 and make do. So Robbie said, well, this was a Thursday. He said, when do you have to present it? And she said Monday. And so we basically had until Sunday to convince her of a campaign, which if you're in this industry, that's not easy. Yes, maybe an idea you could get. Fortunately, Robbie and I are not above working through the weekend. We put together a campaign idea. We put together some creative execution and strategy behind it, a little little intro hype video, and we sent it off to her on Sunday morning, I think at about 8 a.m. And it was about 15 minutes until she called us and awarded us the work. So that's probably one of my most exciting, quick turnaround, international campaign, dropping S&P Global as a client in front of people that think that maybe as a boutique agency, you're not big enough to handle them is a big win. So that was one. But what I really liked about that one was at the end of the day, Robbie and I sat down in a room for about 3 hours and we just hammered out our ideas in the whiteboard and we came out with the perfect one. And that's what I love most about this is sitting down with my team or somebody on my team or by myself and piecing a brand strategy together, much like you would solve a math problem or a puzzle. And when it all kind of fits and it's perfect, we knew we had it as soon as we came. That's why we were willing to put the time into all the extras, is we knew that it was the right one. And when that happens, it's certainly special. And
it's a eureka moment.
yes, exactly. So, and I should say that the campaign was "We're all in," but we also used "in" as a prefix for things like innovative, inclusive, in this together, that kind of thing. And the idea of everybody buying into this new brand, it went over like gangbusters. Everybody loved it. So, internal events, external campaign.
So there's an debate that runs around: is AI replacing creativity or amplifying it? What's your take as a brand strategist today?
Well, I'm not going to say one individual. We've terminated 3 employees here. I mean, we've had probably 5 or 6 that have left over the last 5 years. But we're a pretty tight team. We don't have high turnover. But 3 different times I brought somebody into a leadership role that I should not have. The first time I did it was first year of our organization, and I truly needed somebody to come in and be the adult in the room. Robbie and I are a lot of fun. Again, as I mentioned earlier, neither one of us were business majors, and there was plenty of opportunity for us to mess it all up. So we brought somebody in. Unfortunately, I brought the wrong person in, and we lost a lot of money doing that. I spent about 6 months trying to recoup from that loss, and we got back on our feet. And then I brought somebody else in who was had the right attitude but didn't have the skill set. I was under the impression that rolling up your sleeves and having the right attitude would suffice, and it did in the early stages. But after about 3 months, we recognized that she was not capable. Problem was, I let my heart make the decision. And so I kept her around and I just leaned into supporting her. I tried everything I could to save her as an employee, but eventually I had to terminate her. She's still currently suing me actually for wrongful dismissal and asking for a 6-figure ridiculous settlement. Anyways, let's not ruin everybody's day going down that path. I swore I would never do that again. And then about 2 months later, I brought somebody else in. I actually bought out a company and gave the CEO a position of authority in my company. And then I sort of shifted over to finishing my book and, going and speaking on stuff like this and in front of audiences. Lost track of what was happening with the company. I just kind of blindly trusted. And this was somebody that I didn't know that well, but my partner knew very well. And so I kind of trusted his judgment. And that went horribly south. And it went horribly south in a way that I've never seen before, in an absolute freak out that I was like, oh, let's find out how we won't let that happen again. But of course it's going to happen again. When somebody shows you who they are, that's who they are. And you need to believe them the first time. So the 3 massive mistakes that I made were those 3 hires. And all 3 situations, I was trying to bring somebody in to basically run the show. I've fixed that now. I have somebody running my show now. Shout out to Julie Orton, who is just chef's kiss. She was the final piece in this Atlas puzzle. We've had her for just over a year now, and she's been absolutely incredible. So my biggest mistakes, blindly trusting the wrong people to have a massive role and influence in this company. I am just now recovering, or maybe 2 months ago, from my 3rd mistake. And that's it. I'm done. 3's it. 3's enough. I'm never going to do that again. We are very careful about who we bring in. And I would urge anyone.
Done the same mistake and recovered.
Yeah, but who knows how many times you can do that, right?
True. Because at the first time, we need to trust people, like you said.
I lead with my heart. I think anyone that knows me will tell you that I am forgiving, I'm loyal, I'm generous, but that's not sustainable, unfortunately, in this world. You have to be a lot more savvy. You have to lead with your head. And at the end of the day, it's not me that will be hurt. It's, the 25 families that rely on Atlas to be sustainable. So
So outside of your agency, what keeps you inspired?
And my family, 100%. I'm a huge family man. I'm blessed with two amazing boys. Same but different. They have that. The core of them is so lovely and is a nice mix of a little bit of me and a lot of my wonderful wife. And they inspire me every day. First of all, as parents, we get the opportunity to give them the life that we always wanted. And both my wife and I came from childhoods that were less than ideal. And so we're both very much invested in our children and giving them the best life. And in return, I've just thoroughly enjoyed watching two very different human beings grow up. They're both so impressive in different ways, and they just remind me on a daily basis what's important.
As my last question comes in, for anyone listening who wants to make their brand come alive, what's one guiding word you would leave them with?
So what I say is don't just do it with gusto. Anything worth doing is worth doing on brand. Everything you do needs to be done with all your heart. I say with gusto because that's one of my chapters, but unapologetically is another term. There is a tribe for your vibe, but you will not find it if you hide your vibe under a bushel. So be bright, be unapologetic, do everything you can on brand with gusto, and I promise you, eventually the right people will find you.
Thank you. And it was a very insightful conversation. The best thing which I related in the entire conversation was the story that you said, where you told the brand that the messaging that you are saying is not how you treat your customers, but about everything that you do. How do you serve the community, what you do for your employees and stuff. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
I appreciate the time. And if I can, I'll quickly plug Brand is a Verb, available internationally on Amazon. And if you're local in Canada, at local bookstores.
Done. We'll promote Brand is a Verb and definitely order copies for my employees as well, so that they learn something new.
Thank you, Shan. That's awesome, Shan. Thank you.